Welcome to Beneath the Wing. Just like air passing over the wing of an aircraft provides lift, the people we meet can also give us lift in life by sharing their stories of strength and success, connecting us all. Beneath the Wing explores the stories of those connected with the Minnesota Air National Guard's 133rd Airlift Wing with a little humor and learning along the way. I'm your host, Wing Command Chief Mark Legvold.
So this edition of Beneath the Wing is a little special. Since the purpose of Beneath the Wing is to share stories and build connections, I'm normally pretty unbiased in my approach to who gets selected to interview, and they're all people who I really do care about. But today, I'm both interviewing and being interviewed by the person I care most about. My wife, Lisa, is joining me on Beneath the Wing today. She's a mother, stepmother of 6 kids, grandmother of 3, former business owner, and now works in the medical profession as a PA. She's also a military spouse by default because she's married to me, my best friend in the whole world, and the only person I can call sweetie or dear, I'm sure, on this podcast. So, on this special Valentine's Day edition of Beneath the Wing, we're going to talk about love and the military. Then we're going to be joined by a special couple who have a unique perspective to being in love and in the military. So, sweetie, welcome to Beneath the Wing.
Thanks, honey.
So, I'll start off here since we're doing kind of a team approach to this. You came from a non-military background. What's been your biggest adjustment for you marrying into this?
It wasn't an adjustment per se, but more of an enlightenment about what being in the military as a family member or spouse really, really looks like. And it looks much more familiar and supportive than I may have ever guessed. It's been great.
Cool. So when we talk about support and support of military members, what does it look like that you weren't expecting?
Almost immediately, the people within this organization who cared about you seemed to very genuinely also care about me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's one of those things I'd never really figure that would be, different than joining like corporate or, where you work medically. I suppose that's very true.
In the corporate environment or the medical environment that I've been familiar with, that process of familiarization with not only your colleagues and coworkers, that happens fairly slowly and over time, which I suppose it does here too. But there's not as obvious or easy of an incorporation of family members.
Okay.
That takes a lot more time and intentional effort.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I've always been very impressed with the intentional effort that we put into the relationships that we have with our family members out here, and maybe that's just because we do have to go places as a big group at times, and that becomes an extension of what family really looks like, where we're taking a family trip but we can't bring our spouse, and so it's important for us as a big group to take care of the spouses and the kids that get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're doing a team approach to the interview today, so you get to ask me some questions, and you had a little bit of time to think about this. So you said nothing that's going to be too terribly embarrassing, but go ahead. I'll let you go.
Definitely not embarrassing.
Right.
Maybe silly at times.
Well,
which is how we roll.
That's how we roll,
yeah.
For sure.
Well, we'll start serious. So you have 30 years of military experience behind you now. That's a long time. How are we that old? That's not the question. That's just an aside. But what advice would you give your brand new little baby airman self, knowing what you know now, in terms specifically as it relates to relationships and family?
Okay, so if I'm 20 or really young and getting married and balancing, I guess I would say work to balance, and I'm not saying work and balance, I'm saying work hard to balance the military side, the job side, the commitment that we have to the countryside, and then the side of the family. If you work to balance that, which I don't always get right, as you would well know, but if you really, really purposefully work to balance that, that goes a long way. And I wish I would have known that a lot earlier, that it doesn't have to be all of one thing and none of the other, that there is a good balance there, but you got to work at it and participate with your spouse on that. Too many times we just say, well, I have to do this because the military said, and that's just the way it is, which sometimes that's the way it is. But if you do a lot of communicating long ahead of time and you build a plan, that makes those transitions and that sudden movement, muscle movement that the military sometimes has to do, it makes it a little bit easier and better to understand. I don't know if I get that right all the time.
Your intentionality is very obvious, and you're super open about it, which is very reassuring as the person who occasionally is left holding the bag, so to speak, at home. You realize how this person is doing what they feel like they must and they should, but at the same time feeling that pull back towards home, and that it's painful for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You are one of the things that I love about you is you are a communicator. You like to talk. I know what your love language is, and that's time. And so when I do end up going out the door, whether it's for a week to a class or 3 months for a training or off to DC last minute, one of the things that kind of keeps us grounded, I feel, is we kind of get into a rhythm of every day there is a call. Every day there's a certain time where we still connect. What other things work or could work, I guess, in that regard to stay connected?
I guess, are you speaking specifically about when you're away?
Yeah.
We don't spend a lot of time when you're away, and we are talking on the phone or texting or whatever, we're able to do at the moment. We don't spend a lot of time going over the minutia of the day or the to-do lists or the difficulties. We actually are, it feels to me anyway, as though we are trying to be connected to one another, even though we're physically far away. So emotionally connected. So there's lots of nice, sweet moments, mm-hmm. and that helps me. I don't know what you think. It
helps me. One of the things that you are so good at is you ask a lot. You ask questions that keep me out of the minutia and kind of help me to stay connected. And it speaks to the importance of the partnership, in that I know what you're really good at. And sometimes I get stuck in I just want to talk about work, because sometimes that's what I get stuck in, and you're so good at moving me into a different direction and a different mode.
Sometimes I also enjoy your work conversations, kind of living a little vicariously through you. You also let me give you advice, which is kind of cool. I like to give advice.
So one of the things.
So you take it?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I didn't introduce you as is my lead critic in this endeavor in a podcast. But Lisa's the one that will listen to these and tell me I need to do something better, or tell me what's really, really good, and give me the positive encouragement that I sometimes need the pat on the head, saying, "Hey, that was really, really good," or "You got to do better on that." And I have said this before, and I will say it again. Usually, I would say 99% of the time when I listen to you and follow your advice, it goes really well. So
I wouldn't want to steer you wrong.
I don't think you would. So is it hard? I guess this is a general question. What's hard about loving someone in uniform?
I don't think about this much, because I guess your situation has not put you at physical risk, but that would be, for most, I would think, the most difficult aspect. And for me, as a time person who finds fulfillment in relationship by spending time, has been difficult for you to have to go when you have to go. Thankfully, it really isn't that often, and thankfully, it has never, as long as we've had a relationship, it's never been for 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, like I know very well a lot of couples have to deal with. It's also a little bit easier because we don't have little children at home, which life when you are married with small children is incredibly busy. And it's a whole lot of very thankless work. And for all of the joy, of course, too. But our kids are adult age, so they're independent. We have a couple and have had 3 that have been living with us more recently with all the COVID transitions and things. But as independent adults with taking on most of the time their fair share of the responsibilities, but I don't have to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
I just have to do my thing and allow you to do yours while you're away. So that works out just fine, actually.
It does help, and and it also speaks to that what we talked about earlier, is just some of that pre-communication of where, hey, mommy's got to go away for 6 months, and having that partnership in the relationship where we talk about, okay, if mom's got to deploy and she's going to be gone for 6 months, there's a lot of pre-communication and setting up for success, especially if there's those little kids involved, or if dad's going to be away for a long time. There's a lot of communication on what's going to be involved, where mom or dad's going to be a single parent for a little while. And one of the awesome things that I heard in an earlier podcast is when dad is gone, they make a paper chain, and every night before bed they take one of those chain pieces off, and that's one day closer to dad coming home. And I found that to be just so simple, but just a great technique to help the kids be a part of that.
Great visual for a little child who thinks usually pretty concretely.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, we've not had to balance the little kids and being gone for a long time. We've been together for 10 years, married for over 4.
No. No!
Married a little bit longer.
Try that again.
A little over 3.
So we were married in what year?
Oh gosh, I can't remember. I'm going to edit this out.
No, you should not. 2016. This is 2021.
It is 2021.
21 minus 16 is 5.
Okay.
So we're coming up on our 6th anniversary.
Well, how about that?
No, I'm wrong.
I'm just going to sit here and let you do math.
I'm wrong.
No, I'm not editing this out.
I bet you're not.
So I'm going to go back to my original question that I had written down here. So we've been together for over 10 years and married for over 4.
True. 100% correct.
What do you think is the secret to a good relationship?
Laughing at one another.
Not doing math together.
Not doing math on tape for other people to hear. We do, but seriously, we do not take one another too seriously, or ourselves. And that helps. Yeah. And I wasn't always as easy about that. In my 20s, I was much more high-strung than I am now that I'm close to 50. And anyway.
Easier to just let some of the stuff go and
the small stuff, sure. And fundamentally, Mark, you're a good person, and I don't have to ever think about that. So if there's a miscommunication or something else that might be irritating, it doesn't ever get to the level of devastating, because I know it's an innocent mistake or a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, and that can be talked through. So
okay. So
there it is.
The cap on the toothpaste thing is not that big of a deal.
No, and even though you're going to let everyone who will ever listen to this know that I can't add how many years we've been married.
I seriously...
I will have to work hard this afternoon to forgive you for that one.
Knowing I had the best of intentions. And I think that's... it allows us to laugh when we always approach each other knowing that we have the best of intentions for the other person in mind.
Yes.
So that's delightful.
How red am I?
You're not.
Oh, boy.
That's good.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
You sure can.
Mark, why do you wear your old uniforms at home?
Oh, my God.
All the time.
I hate spending money on clothes. That's one. Okay, so full disclosure here, I still have the old camouflage pattern, the BDUs, and I still wear them. I have my desert uniforms, and I have my ABUs, and they're all great work clothes. But for me, it's just I have so much of this, so I have to wear it out before I throw it away. Lisa knows this. I will wear socks until they have 2 holes in them, and then I'll throw them away.
That's a new development in your life.
Yeah, throwing them away.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to hang on to them forever. That's a good question, though. You're right.
I was inspired at lunchtime today.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Before we roll into quick questions, what else do you got for me?
So jobs, for most of us, are stressful to a certain degree. How do you process that stress so you don't allow it to negatively impact home?
Oh. I'm not always good at that. And I think that's maybe the first thing is that I recognize that I'm not always good at leaving the stress alone. A lot of it, Lisa, is I come home and I have to emotionally process sometimes with you and being purposeful about saying I have this amount of stress right now and I just need to take a break and talk about it. And usually you and I will sit down with a glass of wine and we'll talk about how stressful it is. And then you will say, okay, can you shift gears? Or can you leave that behind? Or sometimes you're a little bit better at saying, okay, you got to let that go. I'm terrible at exercising my stress away. I'm really good at eating my stress away. But just the ability to kind of verbally process, which is what I do, and having you as that sounding board sometimes is really helpful.
I think that actually I was getting at something different, and the way that you do that doesn't allow your stress to negatively impact home. It's, I think, natural and necessary to have people outside of work, at home ideally, like we do, that where you can talk it through. See, what you don't do, and which is excellent, is and incredibly healthy, is you don't, when you're under stress from work or elsewhere, you don't allow that to make you irritable with the people at home, or short-tempered, or any of those things that some of us do when we're feeling incredibly stressed. We might get snippy or isolate ourselves, things like that the people that we love could take personally.
Yeah.
You don't do that.
It took some work to become more like that. It took some work and, quite frankly, some good therapy. When I was seeing my therapist when life was terribly stressful, I had to learn how to do that a little bit better than I had in the past. And we grow and we get older, but we also get a little wiser, and sometimes it takes a little external help on that regard. It's a very intuitive question. Okay, so this is fun. The thing is, I go home and Lisa and I get to talk all the time, and it's great, but I don't get to ask you some of these quick questions. Okay. So chocolate or strawberries?
Yes.
Me too. Red wine or bourbon?
Red wine.
Romantic comedy or romance novels?
Comedy.
Pina coladas or getting caught in the rain?
Pina coladas, of course. I hate being wet and cold.
1 o'clock or 1300?
1 o'clock.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't speak your language.
I know you don't. I try to make it really clear and say 1300 p.m. Those are good.
I have some fun ones too.
Okay.
I have some would you rathers.
All right.
Mark Legvold. Would you rather do dishes, do taxes, or do laundry?
Taxes.
You're sick. Would you rather lose your keys or lose your phone?
Keys.
I'm not surprised. Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Oh. Read a book.
Would you rather eat lutefisk or eat tripe?
That's a terribly unfair question. Lutefisk. I know everybody's gagging right now.
I know. I try to think of the grossest things I've ever heard of. Would you rather travel to Hawaii or travel to Europe?
With you?
Sure. I'll go to both places.
That was my answer, but Europe.
Would you rather, this is my last one, would you rather have dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to just reintroduce you, and then we're going to take a little break. I've been joined today on the special Valentine's Day edition of Beneath the Wing by my wife, Lisa. And this sure has been fun. And I'm sure we're going to add to the depth of our conversations when we get home based on this. Maybe some math. Before we go in too many details about our life and love in the military, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Staff Sergeants Ben and Taylor Nielsen, both members of the 133rd Airlift Wing, who have a great story that both Lisa and I get to explore together with them. So please stick around after this message.
Hello, I am Kelly Wilkinson, the Airman and Family Readiness Program Manager for the 133rd Airlift Wing. The Airman and Family Readiness Program's overall objectives are to provide programs and services to assist commanders, service members, and their families with educational opportunities, tools, skills, and resources to encourage the development and sustainment of resilient airmen and military families, ultimately leading to operational mission readiness. One of the many programs is Strong Bonds Training, which is facilitated by the chaplain staff. There are training opportunities for individuals, married military couples, and military families. These programs focus on strengthening self-awareness, communication, and relationship building. The next Strong Bonds training is for military couples, being held at the Dollar Tree Hilton in Bloomington from 26 through 28 February. If you would like to register, contact me by the 21st. This training is a great opportunity for military couples to have a weekend to focus on their relationship and finding new ways to strengthen the love you already have for each other. If you are a service member or a military family member in need of assistance in any areas of your life, personal work life, employment, financial readiness, childcare, resilience, and/or stress management, and lastly, crisis assistance, please do not hesitate to contact me at 612-713-2367. Again, that is 612-713-2367. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking around. You're listening to the Valentine's edition of Beneath the Wing, and my co-host for this section is, in fact, my wife, Ann Valentine. Lisa.
Hi, Valentine.
Hi. Joining us now are Staff Sergeants Ben and Taylor Nielsen. Ben's a member of the Communications Flight and has been part of our wing for about 6.5 years. Did I do the math right?
You did.
Okay.
Oh, you big jerk.
I know. Taylor's also in our wing, works for Mission Support Group in their admin support section, and has been with us for about 8.5 years.
Nice.
Did the math right?
You did.
Okay, just rubbing it in a little bit for Lisa. So first of all, welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I get to start off with the fun question here. Tell us your love story. How did you meet? Where? When? How?
So do you want the real story or her story?
Let's
really the.
I'm going to let you tell the story, Ben, and I bet you Taylor will maybe add to it.
I'm sure she will. I'll just start with the first part.
I'll embellish it like I do with everything.
I mean,
sounds great.
I met Taylor maybe, what was it? Probably like about 4 years ago now. It was kind of just like one-off, met kind of just like, oh, hi, I'm Taylor, I was like, okay, I'm Ben.
Out here at the base.
Yeah, just out here on base. I was actually working temporary, kind of like temp tech status, but temp just orders like weekly for services.
Also known as guard bumming.
Right. Yeah,
Perfect.
no, I was definitely guard bumming with services when I met her, and then re-met her about 3 months later. I was doing a guard bumming for recruiting, and I was in the kind of the fishbowl downstairs. So if people don't know the fishbowl, there's only really one entrance, so I'm kind of in the back of it. All of a sudden, she cages me in. She walks in the doorway and just sort of stands there and just keeps talking to me.
It's a glass office, basically.
Yeah, it's a glass office. But, it's all kind of fogged up, so no one can really see in there. But, she just stands in the doorway and proceeds to just start interrogating me, right? On my life, hi, I'm Taylor. I was like, yeah, I think we met before, And she just keeps going off about whatever, and we found some, mutual interests in some things. But, traditionally, I'm kind of a little bit sassier than some people. So it got to the point where she's like, oh, I should reprimand you. Because she was a staff sergeant at the time. I was a senior airman.
Oh, my.
And I was like, oh, geez. It's one of those. And then I made the comment, I was like, oh, with that cockiness, you must be a flyer. And she was like, I am a flyer. And I was like, ooh, awkward.
Because you were a flight medic at the time.
Yeah, she was.
I was very cocky then. Yeah.
So, no, needless to say, she invited me out to lunch. And I said, sure.
No. Okay.
All right. Here's her story.
Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, so he was working in the DFAC because at the time he always used to work behind the deli.
So the
he would make
DFAC
sandwiches.
is what we call the dining facility,
dining facility.
the chow hall, the mess hall, the place where people eat, right?
Yes,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would go, and usually I would be so busy during drill, so I would go and get a sandwich, always at the end of lunch, and he would always be at the counter doing the sandwiches. So for probably years, I saw him, and I'd call him Cute Deli Guy. And anyone who knows me knows I'm very outspoken and introverted, but when it came to him, I just could not talk to him. I would look down at my tray, get my sandwich. He'd be trying to engage and talk to me, and I just was to him, I probably looked a little standoffish because, at the time I was this hotshot flight medic, and,
Was this the middle school in love butterflies thing that you were getting?
Yeah, totally, yeah. So but for real, I
I
told...
had no idea.
I was gonna say, and all of our friends still talk about that. I would call him Cute Deli Guy, and so eventually when we started dating, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is the guy you talked about." There's only so many gingers on base, But yeah, so then when I saw him in the fishbowl that day, I was like, "Okay, this is my chance." I did not interrogate him. First off, I literally just wanted to be able to finally introduce myself, and start the communication because I got the courage, So yeah, and then I employed him. I said, "Oh yeah, it's a tradition, people that have been on base a while to take the new people out to lunch." So that's how I got him to go to lunch with me, and then we actually found out. So we have mutual friends that we both grew up with, and have a lot of commonalities actually with. I grew up in White Bear, he grew up in Forest Lake, but we have a lot of friends from the same area. So yeah, and then that just kind of started the conversation.
So you took him out to lunch.
Indeed.
Yeah. Fun.
And you let her buy?
No, this is actually kind of an awkward.
Yes, he did.
Oh.
No.
Technically, at this
Here we
point,
go. Okay.
I did not see this as a date. This is stereotypical me not seeing signs, par for the course really in my entire
He still
life.
doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
No.
Indeed. But so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll pay. And we got to Jimmy John's and I offered to pay and I was like, that's fine, yeah, I'll pay. And they're like, oh, by the way, the 50% off military discount only happens for the first sandwich. And me, thinking practically, I'm like, well, we can save more money if you just buy your own sandwich. I mean, to me, kind of the rational thought process. It wasn't really a date. It was just, hey, let's go out to lunch. So I was like, okay.
I was kind of taken aback.
I was like, oh, so then you got your sandwich, right? And she's like, yeah, I guess. And I was like, oh, whoops.
It's a little awkward, but fine, okay? We just kept rolling with it. But
fine.
But it was funny.
Fine.
So we had lunch, and we just totally connected on so many different ways, just like with how we grew up and even with, just like I said, the mutual friends and stuff. So it made it really easy to just talk because we just were on the same page. We also have a mutual love of Reliant K, a little-known band, like pop rock band that we both really love that not many people know. It's kind of a random, but
I don't know.
Nope, they had a hit back in the 90s, and I'm trying to remember what the song was.
Yeah, I don't, maybe, that's like one of their, it's literally
They
like,
do, they're more like early to late thousands, early teen, like 2010 range, but
Okay.
But anyway,
It's going to come to me. And
That's
Lisa
all right.
knows it's going to bother me until I remember it.
And
That's
I
all
will
right.
be no help whatsoever.
That's all right. I mean,
it's kind of like a Green Day feel. That's how I would describe it. Yeah.
I can hear the genre.
Oh, yeah. No, they're so. But anyway, so we like.
Anyway, I had lunch. She actually didn't even eat a bite of
Because I
her
was so nervous.
sandwich
Yeah.
the entire time.
I used all my courage to like talk to him. That by that point I was like shaking. I was like so nervous. Like,
That's sweet.
I still had no idea at this point. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, whatever.
But it's funny because then we hit it off, and so then we went back to base, and of course both of us were just like giggly about like what happened, and I was sitting. So the reason I was past the fishbowl is I was working in the IG, doing temp tech stuff there, which if people aren't aware, so IG is next to the fishbowl.
So you were working for the Inspector General.
Yeah.
Helping with inspections here on base.
Yes.
Got it.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. So so
Yeah, right next door.
right next door. Yeah. And so after that, he actually messaged me, I think, on Facebook and said, I really enjoyed lunch. Like, can we get dinner today too? So then I was like, okay, yeah. And so I rushed home, and I was so excited. I'm like, Mom, I met somebody. And I was like talking to her about him and stuff. And she just like, she even reminded me now. She's like, I remember how excited you were. Like, I just knew that this was different. Like, this wasn't like any of the other guys you'd been on dates before with.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben, you obviously weren't that clueless.
No, well, I think it was after the lunch where I was like, okay, I kind of poked a little bit, prodded, and she was like, yeah, single. I'm like, okay, cool. But I think one of my, I don't know if I know the exact words I used, but I was like, I don't think lunch was enough. Are you free for dinner? Kind of a thing. So, I brought her to my favorite restaurant, and the rest is kind of history from that point on.
So we went so we were in Forest Lake, because that's where he's from and where we live now. And we went to this Thai place that we still love. It's like our favorite place to go, and it's always fun to be around there because it's like the start of our love story. And I mean, we literally had dinner at like 4, and then I didn't leave till like 11 or something. We just like hung out, like walked around this park, and there's like a really pretty, the Forest Lake is right there. So yeah, it was just awesome. And that's actually where he proposed to me too, is at that lake.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and then we got dinner at the Thai place. And,
Good call, Ben.
Thank you.
Nice work on that one.
Sometimes I make good decisions.
Who's the more romantic one in this relationship?
She is, 100%.
Taylor?
Yeah, I don't know. Yes and no. Okay, so he loves to be, I think, yes, I'm more romantic because he likes to be romanced, I think. Which is funny because I don't think that's common.
See, I would go the other way around.
Oh,
I would say you are the one who wants to be romanced, so I end up having to do grand gestures to make her happy. I think more so than anything. Okay,
that's fair. I do like little things, like little tokens.
Mm-hmm.
We've done like the 4 lenses and like the love languages and stuff. So and in fact, we just did one yesterday to see if we've changed, and we have.
Oh.
Like he's picked up some of my love languages and vice versa, because after a couple years of marriage, that kind of happens. Yeah. So I think it's kind of the perfect balance.
Fantastic.
Uh-huh. Are you waiting for me to ask a question?
You're up, honey.
All right.
I got one. Here's an interesting one. How has the year of COVID enhanced your home life? Enhanced it.
Okay.
Enhanced.
I'd say most people say it like it's
I know.
No. So I got full time on base. Ben's been a technician for gosh,
A
2
little
years.
over 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, and then I just became full-time almost a year ago. So we've been driving together and like every day, even before COVID hit. So I mean, I guess you're kind of used to just always being together. So for us, it's just been kind of like a natural enhancement of just like spending more time. And I don't know, we're kind of weird because we love being together, so it hasn't actually caused, I mean, I guess in enhancing, it's allowed more time and more conversations to take place that maybe we wouldn't have had. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't
What
know.
would you think?
Before COVID, I'm a homebody. I've always kind of been a homebody. I've never needed to go out, never really felt the need. Been very much so an introvert. But so with COVID, just kind of enabled me to just be in my comfort zone at all times, which is like a plus. But I mean, Taylor and I were working together full time, like same building, same floor, same schedule. Like we kind of are with each other a lot, which I mean, some people might see as kind of a negative, but I mean, I think, you know, if we've lasted even like 2.5 years, like seeing each other every second of every day, I mean, there's no part of me that like regrets my decision by any means, and I think it just kind of brings us closer together in that way. But I mean, even before COVID, we were still at home most of the time.
Yeah, we're
So
pretty inseparable actually. I mean, we're best friends, you know, like we just have, again, we have so many things in common. It makes it easy to be together when you like a lot of the same things. And so I guess, okay, so I have picked up some of his hobbies. So if you want to talk about enhancement, so we now play D&D together, which is super fun.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
indeed,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
quite the fan.
He's a dungeon
Somehow,
master,
Ben, I'm not
yeah.
surprised.
Actually, believe it or not, it wasn't until COVID started that I really played for the first time.
Yeah?
Because I played maybe once, like 5-10 years ago, but it wasn't until after that where one of my buddies was like, hey, yeah, I'm really interested in this, we should try. And I was like, all right, and I kind of dove in head first.
Yeah, and it's a great game because you can play virtually,
Sure.
you know, obviously, you just there's all sorts of awesome tools nowadays.
But-
So yeah, so I picked up that, and we've been playing some video games and stuff together too. So yeah, it's been kind of, it's definitely bonded us.
It's good to do some of those interesting. I guess something you'd never really pick up on your own, but you do just because your spouse. Lisa's helping me restore a car,
Ooh, that's on the list. I definitely want to do that. Yeah.
so we're having a good time with that.
Mark says, Lisa, take this nut off. And so I try for a little bit, and then about 50% of the time, I can't. Mark, I can't get this one.
Okay, well
So
that's
anyway,
me and home
That's
projects.
where we are.
Yeah, that's most home projects.
Yeah, I was gonna say I say I'm really handy, but it's really like 80% Ben and 20% me. So like I have the vision and he gets it done.
But it's
Very
together,
nice.
Yeah.
which is
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, talk about enhancing. We've pretty much like redone our whole house since COVID started,
Yeah.
which has been Taylor having a dream to get it done, and then me, I guess, just
Yeah.
doing it. But no, yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm not upset about it now. It was just a lot of long days.
No,
for a while.
HGTV is banned from the
Uh-huh.
house.
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't
allowed
let
to
her
watch
watch
HGTV. No,
It's-
you're
it's
not
bad.
joking. Yeah, no.
It's
You can
bad.
relate.
I can relate to that. We just finished, Ben, we just finished another project, which mercifully, we just had somebody come and do. But most of the stuff we've ended up doing. Lisa, thank God, is a painter. I hate
nice.
painting.
Hey, me
Nice.
too.
So that just
Okay, I
works.
totally get it. Yeah.
But we finished this, and now it was just this morning that I woke up in the one room upstairs that hasn't been redone or finished or touched in any way. I'm like, I hate it in here now. I hate this room. So it's like, we got to do something now. Yeah.
No, I've been doing room by room. I'll be like, okay, Ben, I can't stand this anymore. And he's like, okay, just a couple more months. Then like, no longer. Like this weekend. Yeah.
Thanks, Home Depot, right?
Yeah. Oh, 10%
Spent a
off,
lot
man.
there.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned that you guys did the love language test with one another.
Mm-hmm.
So there's time, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, and acts of service.
Mhm.
What are you, and how have you changed in the last year or two?
All right, so I probably was like 50-50 from gifts and physical touch before we got married, and maybe even the first 6 months into marriage. But since working full time and just being really busy, because COVID is really big in terms of like adding to your schedule a lot of times, even though you'd imagine it wouldn't, but it kind of just does. So I've gone from that to more like acts of service. Like if I come home and like dishes are done, it's like, ugh, just the best. Because like after a day of work, I don't want to have to do that. And I know like whether or not she was working from home or I'm working from home, we're both working and it's still just like, oh, I still felt like I had such a long day. And it's like, well, you've been in your chair all day. I'm like, well, yes, but it still feels like it was a long, stressful day. But no, just that to me, especially with like being busier, having those like acts of service done has been like a huge blessing. So I think that's probably my biggest one.
Yeah. And then I took mine, and I think we kind of guessed this, but I'm like a smorgasbord, except for gifts. Gifts is like 0%, but I kind of score evenly on a lot of those areas. And so, yeah, it was funny because I was like 80% acts of service, and now I like pushed it onto him, and now I just kind of fall everywhere. So Ben unfortunately just kind of has to, like pick up the pieces and, kind of fill in when he can. But I don't know. I think that's the beautiful thing about marriage is that it just enhances, some of those things that, like, I've always been a big acts of service person, but now that Ben knows, like, how much I appreciate it, like, he appreciates it too, So it just, I don't know. Again, it's that balance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You teach one another some things.
Yeah.
Or show one another some things. Yeah.
Yeah.
You maybe didn't realize when you were younger. Yeah.
It's nice to be able to learn from one another too, what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
And sometimes it just takes a lot of work and patience and understanding and a lot of talking.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are 3 years ahead of us.
Ask
right?
Lisa how long we've been married.
No,
We'll be
truly
okay.
was not yet.
It'll be our 5th anniversary this summer.
Nice. Okay, so 3 years. Yeah, let us know how it is, and we'll.
For sure.
It's different being, for me anyway, different being married as a almost 50-year-old than it was during my first marriage as a young 20-something for sure. I don't know. It's easier. Maybe it's because you are easier. I don't know.
I was just going to say it's because I'm easier.
You're easy. Yeah, comparatively.
Yep. Go ahead.
What should I do? Should we do Would You Rather?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so if for people that listen to the podcast, they always know that we go through this quick answer thing, what's the first thing that comes to mind, which we're going to do, but Lisa added a twist to it today because she interviewed me for the first segment. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to let you go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to do Would You Rather, and then you each can give your answer, okay? Okay. So, Ben and Taylor, would you rather do dishes, do taxes, or do laundry?
Dishes.
Actually, dishes or taxes, actually. Laundry is... Oof.
We both hate laundry so much.
Laundry's the worst.
We always have, like,
All
baskets and baskets.
Would you rather lose your keys for the car or lose your phone?
Lose
I'm
my
gonna-
phone.
I'm going to go keys. I can always ping my phone from, like, Google or something.
Oh,
That's
it's
fine.
true. Yeah, I lose
Keys,
my
it's
stuff.
like, I don't know how to find it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I lose my stuff literally all the time. We had to buy me an Apple Watch so I could ping my phone because he's sick of calling me. A true story. Yeah.
Very funny. Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Read a book.
Podcast.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark.
Dark.
Okay. Eat lutefisk or eat tripe?
Lutefisk.
Tripe.
Oh, really? Why?
You say that with such certainty.
I know.
I mean, it's in, like, some pho and stuff, and I've definitely, like, gobbled that right up, so hey,
Ugh,
why not?
no.
Good for you, Ben.
That's what I'm
She's
gonna say
amazing.
too.
I'm like, oh, why not?
Adventurous eater. And last one. Would you rather travel to Hawaii or travel to Europe?
Europe.
Europe.
We'll explain why.
There's a story.
Yeah, we went to Hawaii
For our honeymoon.
on our honeymoon,
Yeah.
and for the first time in 78 years,
Yeah.
they were hit with a hurricane.
And I'm in Maui.
The week
We're at
we were
Maui.
there,
Yeah, so we
Again.
a category 3 or 4.
the first time in a
hurricanes.
century,
Yeah.
and we were there that weekend.
Yeah,
I mean, we
and-
shouldn't have gone during hurricane season, but I mean,
Statistically.
yeah, statistically we were
Right.
fine. I was like, that's no way.
Yeah.
As soon as we get there, it's like, yeah,
Oh no,
You know,
legit. Our
Category
hurricane
5
hit.
on its way.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh jeez.
Yeah, so it got downgraded, I think, to like a 3 or something, but I'm used to like a hurricane, and so
Right.
a lot of the island got like totally torn apart, and we
It
ended
was
up having to
flooding.
stay with like some friends of his parents,
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
It's
it was
crazy.
not very honeymoon-esque staying with strangers.
We had to
but
get out of our Airbnb, and we
Yeah.
stayed in like the extra room of someone on the opposite side of the island
Yeah.
that I met maybe once when I was like 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
My dad did. He's like,
So,
"Oh yeah, go hang out
we'll
with
not be
them.
going
They're
to Maui."
missionaries in Hawaii." So I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah. No Hawaii anytime soon. You know, it's beautiful. Love it. We both have been before, but we will not be going back. So, yeah.
Indeed.
Somehow a park in Forest Lake just sounds so much better, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I know.
Sometimes,
When we
yeah.
were there, especially, we couldn't get out. And we're like, yeah. Then we went to Florida for a redo honeymoon and then was hit again with another hurricane. No, I'm not kidding you. No, this really, we have the worst luck. So we do not travel during
Anywhere.
hurricane season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we'll go to Europe. So, yeah.
Right.
Good question. All right, so I'm going to do the quick answers. Chocolate or strawberries?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Red wine or bourbon?
Red wine.
Red wine.
Romantic comedy or romance novels?
Romance novel.
Rom-com.
Hotel or a tent?
Hotel.
Tent.
Pina coladas or getting caught in the rain?
I suppose why not both?
Yeah, I agree.
1 o'clock or 1300?
1300.
1 o'clock.
I
I'm much more military.
appreciate that about you. Okay, so you guys have been married for how long now?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. What's the longest that you've spent apart?
She was deployed, so 4.5 to 5 months.
No, I was gone for like 6 months.
Okay, that long.
That's okay. Sometimes it's hard to tell how long somebody's been gone or
Right.
been married based on the calendar and I'm letting you live it down though, honey. So how did you, as a couple, how did you manage that time apart?
I think it was different because we'd only been dating for maybe 4.5 months before she left. So I guess the biggest thing was a time difference. It was tough to like fit that in, and then she's really busy. She's always flying, so it's like on a mission this time. So sometimes it was a week before we heard from each other, and then it's not like life stops at home either. So I guess fitting the balance was a little bit awkward and probably put some strain on like a new dating relationship. But I think because we were both military, it made it a little easier to understand like, hey, things happen. You just gotta roll with the punches.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and actually, so I'll be leaving for tech school in 2 weeks, so this will be the next time, the longest we've been apart from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it'll be interesting how different it is this time, having been married a few years.
How do you think it will be different?
I just think for deployment, obviously the time difference was a huge impact. Plus, I'd be going these long missions for sometimes hours on end, and so this time, I'll be working relatively the same hours as him. So
Same time zone.
yeah, we'll be done at the same time, so we can actually talk and stuff, and he can actually come visit. Unlike in the Middle East. So.
Yeah. So it should be a lot easier. I would hope.
Yeah,
I would
hope.
think.
Yeah, I don't know, no hurricanes. Fingers crossed.
All right.
Right.
Where's
We're
tech
out of the
school?
season. It's in Gulfport, Mississippi.
Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Right on
What
the
month?
coast.
Yeah.
Keesler was awesome.
It's not hurricane season.
No,
No,
it's not.
that's
No,
okay.
I was totally
Okay.
joking. Yeah.
I know hurricane season now. for
Yeah.
some
Oh, yeah.
reason.
We have it down pat. Yeah.
Okay. Has the military made either of you or both of you better spouses, do you think, being in the military?
Probably. I mean, Taylor enlisted when she was 17. I enlisted when I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I was kind of a child back then. So whether it was the military, I guess, teaching me to be an adult or just maturing, I would say that a lot of it was due to the military. So, I mean, I would for sure say, I'm a better spouse because of it.
Yeah, I would agree. Because, something I think about, I always had this hard rule. I was like, I'm never, ever going to marry or date a military guy. Ever, ever, ever.
Well, you shouldn't
And-
have, but...
Yeah. But it's funny because then when I met Ben and
Cute deli guy.
He's cute deli guy, but he still is. But yeah, no. So it was funny because I I don't know, prior to this, I just don't think, it never worked, my other, like, civilian relationships, because they never got it, they never get the military perspective, and they were never mature. Like, they're always just super immature. So, Ben's actually 2 years younger than me. So when we met originally, I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 years. It's like crazy. It's like the biggest age gap. I don't know. It's so silly. But, but then after I got to know him, like, oh no, like he's been in the military. Like he's mature. Like he like gets like the military lifestyle and like, just kind of what that entails. So yeah, I think it's both made us better spouses because of that. Plus we get like tons of free marriage stuff that other couple, whether it be, Strong Bonds
like classes and things.
Yeah.
Strong Bonds is awesome.
Yeah, we loved it. So yeah, by the way, plug in for Strong Bonds. If you haven't done it, you should because it's free. It's amazing, and the hotel is usually just like gorgeous. So yeah, just saying.
There's a lot we talked about this in the first segment of this is just how, and maybe you can tell the story on that, honey, is the difference between marrying somebody that's in the military and starting a relationship with somebody that's in the military and being in a relationship with somebody that's corporate and how you felt initially.
Oh, one of the first things that I noticed when we started dating was how very easily and quickly the military family sort of folded me in. So it was like automatic. It was almost disconcerting in a way because that isn't necessarily the way the people that I grew up with and came from behave. That isn't necessarily the way I'd ever observed anything being in corporate America or other places. So I ended up loving that part of it very much. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have a companion in life whose work family sees you as an important part of the picture almost right off the bat. That's pretty cool.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you think you'll be as a couple 5 years from now?
I know. Oh my goodness. Well, I would like to have kids, but I guess we'll see. Yeah. It's hard being military for that fact, as far as like planning and, I should say being dual military. I think that's a little more challenging because, I don't know. So I would hope we'd have at least a kid. That's where I'm at. I don't know. What do you say?
I mean, it could happen. I don't know. I don't know what's in the future really. 5-year goals. I mean, I'm probably gonna still be here, still working. So I mean, I guess I haven't put too much thought into it, but I mean, a kid on the way could be. 5 years seems pretty reasonable.
You guys still seem to enjoy each other's company so much that
right. Like, why mess with something good?
I was saying we do love being aunt and uncle too. We have 2 nephews that we absolutely adore. Yeah, well, when they're good, we send them home. And, Or sorry, when they're bad, we send them home. We keep them when they're good. But So I think a kid would be great. Otherwise, we were supposed to build, and we ended up not building because of COVID. So maybe potentially starting that up again would be nice once things simmer down. But yeah.
Sounds good. One last one for you, honey.
Do either of you wear your old military uniforms when you're at home?
At home?
Mm-hmm. See?
What? No.
In fact, I keep my military uniforms at work.
I do too.
I have never and would never wear it not at work.
Yeah, I guess for me, I love.
Sorry, I did wear my blues to get married, but that was by her request, and as soon as the ceremony was over, I changed into a suit.
Yeah, I think when I was a flyer, I was much more into like I'm wearing my flight suit and whatever, Now I'm like I can't wait to take them off, being full time.
She's asking a fair and honest question here. Do you wear your old uniforms, the old gray ones?
Yeah,
do you still wear those, or did you get rid of them?
ABUs?
Yeah.
They're gone.
They're gone.
100%. No
you still
way.
have those?
Tell them how you use them at home.
They are my work clothes when I'm at home. I still have the old camouflage pad, the old green camouflage, the BDU ones.
Oh my god.
And I still wear those or my desert uniforms. I still have those.
All right, fair. I got some nice like Gore-Tex ABU jackets I've used sometimes like snowboarding. But like I guess not like the actual uniform, like only like the jacket. Like I don't think
I don't think I have. Yeah, I know.
See, Mark, and now you know why I asked why you do that.
That's just great. You've articulated how weird I am. I guarantee you somebody's listening out there is like, yes, I still wear mine and I'm normal.
100%. My brother-in-law, or our brother-in-law, still has his. He was in the Army a long time ago, and he still has a bunch of his uniforms. So
Mark cuts when the pants really get worn out, he cuts them off for
right, because why not? Why wouldn't you do that?
They have pockets.
Yeah, ABU shorts. Oh my gosh,
They do
rocking
have
it.
a lot of convenient pockets.
Yes.
I'll give them that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
We had to work that hard to validate the fact that I wear all my uniforms.
It's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
I still have some Santees, if that's any. I just thought of that. I have deployment Santees that I won't get rid of because they're just cool and
They're great.
I don't know what that is.
Sand colored t-shirts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sand tees.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Yes.
You know, the
Understand.
left-hand side of my uniform drawer that's full of
I never
those
look
t-shirts.
at your drawers.
Oh. You never know what you're gonna find.
What's in his drawers is his business.
Yeah, so and that's how we do laundry, which is all right. And my answer, by the way, was I would rather do taxes than dishes.
Yeah.
I get it totally with you. Who's a couple that inspires you? Do you guys have a mentor couple?
Oh, yeah, I would say so.
I mean, I guess not like when I think of like one particular couple, maybe not, but I kind of take aspects of a few different kind of people who I would see as somewhat role models in like their relationships. Like, I mean, my parents have been together like almost 30 years or over 30 years now. So, I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about. And my grandparents are all, still who they originally married. So it's like crazy to see how like even like 50 plus years, it's like, whoa, that's
And same for me.
insane.
Like, yeah, I was really blessed as well that my whole family is all stayed married and happy. And yeah, so I think we kind of take aspects of, that's something we're taught in marriage counseling is, you take the good that you think or like that will help, and then you maybe toss away the bad that you didn't like.
Right.
But I think too, like we've had actually Chief Wolfile and Trisha Wolfile. I've known them since I was 12 years old. He's who brought me into the Air National Guard. So they've always been really good support system and taught us a lot before.
Smart to plug my boss. So.
Sorry, no,
That's-
I
no,
did
it's
not.
smart.
No, I didn't mean it like that. No, but he's always been like a second dad, so it's natural to. Yeah, so I think, we've just been really blessed with both our families and some outside sources as well.
Well, you guys are a fantastic couple, and definitely one of my
Thank you.
favorite couples that I work with out here at the base.
Oh,
That's
you
high
had to
praise.
say that. Yeah.
I would have anyway. Well, I want to thank Ben and Taylor for joining me this week or this time on Beneath the Wing, and I want to especially thank my Valentine, Lisa, for helping me out on this special Valentine's edition of Beneath the Wing. So thanks all of you for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, honey.
You got it, sweetheart. Next edition, we're going to have Lieutenant Katie Morse joining me on Beneath the Wing. I know I said I was going to have her on our special edition from DC, but Valentine's Day comes but once a year, and it's been great to focus on love in uniform and how we make these relationships work with our commitment to our work and supporting the country. So join me again next time on Beneath the Wing. Thanks.